Yo, what's up, guys? Nate and Phillip back again doing episode 13 of the PokeTalk podcast. What's going on, Phillip?
Hey, not too much. Recording at a different time, but I'm pretty excited for this episode, just like always.
Just like always, yeah.
Just like always, yeah. I really love recording. I really do.
Yeah, so this episode, we're not quite sure on the title, but we're just going to say, where will Pokemon be in 50 years? So, yeah, quite the stretch for this episode.
Yeah.
It's just going to be an interesting topic because of today's market. And, you know, I, for one, am starting to see a little uptick in things, but a lot of people, you know, are worried about like a junk slab era, which we're kind of already in to some extent. And so, yeah, where will all this be in 50 years when the bulk of the hobby is about to retire? So we're going to talk about it. For the intro stuff, we just wanted to mention a couple things that we're going to be diving into on the news. We booked and bought tickets to Kansas City Collecticon. We are going to be there. Should be pretty fun. And, yeah, going to be exciting.
Yeah, did we mention Vanilla Ice is going to be there?
We get to hear Vanilla Ice sing once again.
Yes, and his amazing song that we all know only one song, Ice, Baby.
You know, you always get Vanilla Ice, the Ninja Turtles, and then the Pokemon theme song at these Collecticons. I think everybody is pretty sick of it, but it's becoming kind of a meme now.
I mean, hey, that's how he's making his money. I can't really fault him. He's probably making like $25,000 an appearance here or something like that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't. This is how he's making a living.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm sure he's got some fans waiting for another record or something.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure all 12 of them are just thrilled.
But yeah, we are going to be there. It'd be really fun to see some of you guys. We're also going to talk about the Pokemon Live, or, you know, the presentation of Scarlet and Violet that happened last week.
Mm-hmm.
We got some new details about the game. We're not going to do like a super deep dive into it because maybe we'll get more details later, I'm sure.
Yeah, we haven't seen most of the generation yet. Like, we're not gonna know that much about the actual Pokemon until probably as we get closer to launch, I imagine.
Yeah, pretty much.
We'll start seeing leaks, but
yeah, we'll just talk about little mechanics that we got a sneak peek of, and you know, they did show off the new mechanic, so it's interesting to say the least. But the last bit of news we'll touch on is the Sword and Shield Ultra Premium Collection, which is coming out this year. This is a new Ultra Premium Collection. You know, we had the Celebrations one last year. Maybe this is going to be a yearly thing, but this is coming out on October 28th for $120. And instead of being Celebration, you know, with the Metal Pikachu, Metal Charizard card, this one is Charizard based entirely. It's got Charizard on the box, you know, on the wrapping and everything. And yeah, we'll dive into that and let you know what you can find in that box. But let's hop on in, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So first up, we got the KC Collecticon. We have never been to Collecticon. We just been kind of lurking and living vicariously through people online showing us that Vanilla Ice concert. But yeah, what I want to go over, like, what do you expect and what you bring in, what you're looking for, and all that.
Well, I looked through some of the names of this quote unquote the celebrities that will be there, and I am always curious to see who will be here because I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan. I would say that wasn't the first thing I became infatuated with, but it's definitely one of the first things. It was before Pokemon I started watching it, but it's definitely a major part of my childhood, and there's really no Dragon Ball people that are going to be there. I mean, there is some, but not any huge ones.
Yeah. the bigger ones I saw was like that got me excited was a voice actor for Kaiba and
Hmm.
from Yu-Gi-Oh, and he voiced
Yeah,
one other. I think it was he like did
Brock.
Brock's voice. Yeah.
Hmm. So that one is pretty big. And then there's this Eric Schrader or Erica Schrader who did Luffy. So that's a pretty big one. Although I don't really care for One Piece. Could never get into it. I know. I'm sure that's probably heresy to some people, but my brother has tried so many times, and I just could not do it. Like
Yeah.
they get me to watch it and enjoy it. I just can't.
I thought about like getting a Blue Eyes card and maybe having, Kaiba's voice actor sign it or something.
No, yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean that's the only thing like I'd be interested in. Gary's gonna be there, King Pokemon, but I figured if we see him lurking around, maybe hanging out with the E4 people, we could talk to him or something. But I don't know. Just it'd be cool to have like a Kaiba signed Blue Eyes, and that's about it for me. But yeah, I don't know really what to expect. We've seen plenty of these events online, of course. Um, People may have seen a lot of footage from the National Sports Card Show here in the last week or so. This is kind of like that, except a lot more Pokemon and like TCG based. And there's also just a ton of other stuff like Funkos, like,
Hmm.
it's just a mini Comic Con. So should be really cool to see all that stuff. And a lot of people on Instagram who sell cards that I'm following and talk to, they have booths that they're going to be setting up there. And so it'll be kind of cool to talk to those guys. But
It's gonna have a
yeah,
bunch of stuff, even some comics too, which is interesting.
yeah. Is there anything you're on the hunt for or?
Yeah, there are a few things. I think what exactly I go after is pretty much dependent upon whether or not we get that PSA order back. I sold a good portion of like the slabs, quote unquote, in like my collection off that were worth anything. I still have some that of like basically junk slabs that I'm probably never gonna be able to get rid of. It's like a dozen, so I was able to get rid of the vast majority of them. But I don't really have too much that I'd be willing to try to trade or even sell beforehand to try to get enough money for, say, a special XY era Mario Pikachu. That would be probably the big thing that I would want to go after. But even in a PSA 9, like even if I get a deal for like 12, 1300, I would basically need to have some of that order back from PSA before I could do something like that because I only have so much I can trade right now, or that I'm willing to trade, I should say.
Yeah. I'm going to bring, like, what stuff are you going to bring? You going to bring anything? Like two
I
maybe
was,
trade or something? Or?
yeah, I was going to really like. There's some things that I might bring. There's some booster boxes, some Japanese booster boxes, maybe. I know that's not a whole lot, so I don't know if that would be like it's me, Miracle Twins and Shiny Star V. Like it's ones that I'm not sure some vendors would even be willing to trade for. Uh, it's there's new enough to where somebody might be interested, but it's not quite old enough. Um, so that one's kind of a question mark. Whereas like with the PSA order I have, there are several cards I know for a fact several vendors will be willing to trade for. But if I haven't had the PSA order back, I pretty much won't have a choice, and something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So I would take those booster boxes up there with me, and pretty much anything else that I could find that might be worth trading in one of my bins. Might do some EV Hero packs maybe. Uh, like some that I've already opened, just a bunch of packs. Maybe I could get something that way. But if I don't get the PSA cards back in time, that pretty much means I'm probably not getting the PSA 9 or even try to get the 10 Mario and Luigi. But there
Yeah.
are several that I would be interested in, and that is basically special delivery Bidoof. Maybe there might be somebody with the 2022 player ceremony. one that hasn't quite released yet, but has Arceus in the background.
Yeah, we did get a sneak peek of that. So those are released every year, right? The player ceremony.
Well, since 2019, and the 2019 one might be one of the best ones, just color palette wise, but they're all really, really good artwork. If you haven't seen them, I would definitely recommend trying them out. They're definitely some of the best cards from this era, or best promos, I should say, from this era. Some of the best art is on them from this era, in my opinion. And just the overall detail and design of each artwork is just gorgeous.
Yeah, I'll have a link in the description as with everything we'll talk about, so you can check out all the things we're mentioning, and you can quickly access them for your listening.
And
But
another thing is something that I think I can get if I don't have the PSA order back is a PSA 10 Scream Psyduck.
yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be so. Those are kind of things to be on the lookout. Special delivery Bidoof, Scream Psyduck, and one of the player ceremony. Really, if I see any of them, I might be tempted to buy any of them. But really, the 2022 one would be the primary one that I'd be trying to go after.
Yeah, you can't buy the side up because then you can't buy mine when it comes back.
Well, I'm kind of wanting the 10. I mean, what I might do though is, I mean, if this opportunity arises, I'd be all for it. If we were able to get the order back, I bought you 9 because I'm pretty sure yours is a 9 because you didn't get upcharged for it.
I don't know. It
And
wasn't worth too much when that went through, but they've kind of upticked after
I
the
think they're
fact.
like, I thought even when that upcharge went through, they were still like $500-600 in a PSA 10. I would have to double check because I know they were trending those promos. All of those promos seems like they've been just trending slowly upward. It seems like.
The ones I got upcharged for, though, they're closer to 1,000. Like maybe they were close enough on the line of 500 where they just let them go because not many of those the things I got upcharged for those old McDonald's promos. Like they don't see those very often, so I'm sure those stuck out like a sore thumb
Uh,
amongst all
oh
the
wow,
celebrations.
jeez, these cards are trending towards 800
Which
in a
ones are
10.
those?
The PSA 10 Scream Psyducks. I mean, the ones they haven't sold. Okay, in July, so just a few weeks ago, there was one that it was in an auction that was sold for 660, but it's like the last couple that were sold was 800. There was one that was marked out of 800, so they took the best offer. So they're not sure how much that is. And then the other one was 724 in an auction, 660 in an auction. Another one took the best offer, 858. I mean, they are trending northward, 650, but this was in June for buy it now. I mean,
Huh.
yeah, I remember looking at the beginning of the year, they were only like around 500-ish, 5 to 600. So those are already being pushed upward just within 1 year. I mean, that's like what is it, like a 15 to 20% growth or something like that in just 1 year. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking up the Pikachu now. You can looks like you can buy it for around 2K. That's went back up too. So I remember those
Mimikyu's at
got
3K. Mimikyu's at 3K. But that one's probably going to stay. That's probably going to be more steady, maybe, I think.
yeah,
It's harder
that's
for,
that's always been up there.
yeah, it's harder for a 3K card to go to 4K, but it's easier for a 500 card to go to 800.
The Pikachu, I had a 10 Pikachu and I sold it like peak hype for like 3K. And then
Yeah.
they went down to like 12 or 1300. So I was thinking like basically I'm getting the Eevee, Rowlet, and Psyduck all back in this order, and I'm for sure going to sell all three of them because I only really wanted the Mimikyu. But
honestly, if we get that order back in time, I will buy that 9. And what I would do, if you don't feel offended by it, I would take that 9 and wheel and deal to try to get a 10 at the KCCon.
yeah,
As long as you're not too offended by knowing that when you sell that to me. But
Say, I don't care as long as I get the money for it. Yeah, I was thinking of, well, maybe like since card prices went down, maybe I should sell all three of those and then buy the Pikachu back. But now the Pikachu's climbing up again too, so
yeah.
I'm happy with the Mimikyu. It's my favorite one. It's the rarest one. It's the coolest looking one to me. And yeah,
Yeah.
just settle with the best and not the
So,
rest.
but very excited for the opportunity to be able to see all of this, honestly. It'll be like a kid in a candy store, honestly, having comic books, having video games, probably retro game vendors. It's going to be, I'm kind of worried about, like, I'm going to have to take a deep breath, I feel like. Like, I'm going to have to really, really focus and write down what I'm willing to buy here at the store or at the KC Con because I can
Yeah.
only bring so I got to limit myself about what I bring. Unfortunately, if it was just like 6 months later, I'd be able to spend so much more. But
Yeah, and
I just can't do it right now. I'm still paying off from moving and all that. So
we are going to be there both days. So, yeah, I know it's going to be overwhelming. Like I kind of want to just like walk through the whole place the first part of the day. Like ideally, I really wouldn't want to buy anything until Sunday, but
Sunday evening, I think. Yeah,
you
wait till
know
the
there
final
might
minute.
be a deal that we're scared of like getting away or something.
Or yeah,
So
I
maybe
mean,
Saturday night or something. But
but if you come in with a set mindset about what you're going to buy, what you want, and what card, it's maybe ancillary cards that you might want if they don't have these main cards you're looking for, and what deal you're willing to be like, I can't pass that up.
yeah,
If you kind of have that in mind, like these cards that I wrote down, these are cards that I find worth buying on the spot if a deal comes our way, because it's hard to find these sort of cars where you don't have to pay eBay fees. And we're looking at a situation where some of these vendors want to be able to make as much profit or as much money as they can. They want to take as little home as possible.
and you get it right there
Especially,
in your hand, and you can see
yep,
the condition firsthand.
it depends on the experience of the vendor and how, there's a lot of variables that come into play. But like, for example, like say a munch Psyduck, yeah, that it might be $600-700 in cash. I imagine it'll be around there, in person. But if you're that vendor, you probably have already have 20,000 in revenue, probably, by that point in the weekend. So you're like, yeah, let me try to get another few hundred.
Yeah.
And like I think the afternoon and Sunday afternoon, I think we might see some of the best deals. So unless we come across one Saturday that's like we just can't miss, it's probably best to wait till Sunday so you don't make any impulse buys. That's kind of what I think, anyways.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I did do another thinning of my collection. You know, I've explained this before where like every once in a while things kind of get out of hand and I'm like, okay, I need to reset and focus on my goals. Well, I did that again and I listed some stuff on eBay that didn't fit in my collection that I just kind of off the whim bought. But I'm going in with kind of a small list. There's only like less than 20 Neo Hollows that I need for my binder sets. And I think they're all Neo Destiny and Neo Revelation. So, like, I'll have a small list of those. And then after that, I'm pretty much done with my binders, unless I go after the E Series Hollows. So, I'll for sure be on the lookout for like loose copies. If anyone's selling loose copies as like a bundle deal, that'd be nice. I might, squint my eye at some E Series Hollows just to see if I want to chase those again, but that's a lot of work and there's a lot of them and pretty pricey. But yeah, I'm pretty much bringing everything that doesn't fit into my collection categories. I have some fossil and jungle packs I'm going to throw in the bag because, like, yeah, they're cool to have, but I mean, if I can trade them for something that fits in my collection, I just hope I don't get to hanging out with a bunch of people or maybe a couple drinks and be pressured to open them. That's
No,
that.
I'll make sure you don't open them.
That's what always happens at Collecticon stuff. Stuff gets opened
Like,
by
like,
peer pressure.
as you mentioned, I've been sober for almost 6 years, so I don't really feel the need or pressure to drink or I'll
Yeah,
be, I guess, the guardian angel
which I
for
like. I like having like one or two just socialize, but I've never like drank to get drunk really, so it's kind of different for me.
yeah.
But
I,
yeah,
I,
what's up?
I was just gonna say there is one thing since you mentioned the Neo Destiny cards. I didn't write it down because I don't think I'm gonna see it. That's why I didn't write it down, and that was the complete vending series. If I can get all three sets right there, that would be hard to pass up for me.
Yeah,
Especially if I can get it for a deal like $600-700 for all three of them. Like that would be hard to pass up because that is a core binder goal is having all three of those. So if those are basically just core goals essentially, that's what I'm going to be looking at to buy. That nothing else, nothing ancillary like getting a Umbreon Altar VMAX, nothing like that because that can easily you're going to be able to find deals on those I think for a little bit.
yeah,
So you got to prioritize.
yeah. And those binder cards are like my core, and I do have a list of other stuff like Mario Pikachu is on my list as well, but I have a couple other full art cards that I'm more interested in, like a in trainer full art card from Best of XY. Like that's my card where if I see that and I'm looking at that and I find a good deal, like I'd probably have to jump on it and just figure it out later. But yeah, a couple other ones, maybe a beauty looking back Pikachu. Like I'm still kind of keeping my eye on those. I think those have kind of upticked a little bit. But yeah, either way should be pretty fun. But let's talk about some Scarlet and Violet. I don't think we'll spend as much time on this because,
Yeah,
like we said, maybe we'll do another episode on it when they're released or whatnot. But
I'm down to dedicate a whole episode to it for sure, especially the new cards that we're going to see and the new mechanic
yeah,
within the TCG. So I think we'll be able to touch up on it quite a bit.
real quick on that, they are apparently going to show some of the new TCG cards for Scarlet and Violet at Worlds. So
they've done that for several times now. So
yeah,
we'll see.
should see those pretty soon here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, did you catch that live event? Or the first off, why are they so weird? Like they're like, "Hello, my name is John from the Pokemon Company.
Oh yeah.
We hope you will enjoy our video." And then the video
I
plays.
think he's speaking incredibly formally, and I'm sure he's reading from a teleprompter, and obviously like there's a translator, obviously,
Well, that's what it
and
seems like. It's like, are you showing? You're supposed to like be making these for like kids, right? Because you give us these dumb mechanics that only kids would enjoy, which we're about to talk about. But you're talking to me like you're on some news broadcast or something. Like, good evening, welcome to the channel. It's just,
yeah.
it's just always weird.
I think that's a formality that you see in Japanese culture.
Yeah, very professional and
Yeah,
yeah, it's just I don't know, it's just always weird. And yeah, the translator like is always weird too. Like I like just hearing them talk in Japanese and then cut to the video. So it kind of surprises you a little more. But yeah, maybe formality is a little lost in translation there too, but
I will say this: that CEO is super suave, though. That's my opinion of him. He's super elegant and suave. I mean, I don't know if there's any other way to describe him, but
yeah. Yeah, almost like they would make better design choices. This mechanic we're about to talk about. So yeah, let's just burst that bubble. The new mechanic. It was kind of at the end of that video. It's like crystallize or something like that. You know, we've had Mega
Terrastall,
Pokemon.
it's Terrastalize.
Yeah, like where it
It's Terrastall, yeah.
it's like based off the land and like some type of crystal formation. It's kind of like a mix between those. And but yeah, we've had mega evolutions, and then it went to like what was it, Z moves, and then the Gigantamax, and then now we're
Yeah, I've heard of
here
that one.
at
This
the
is better though.
SOS.
This is better though than the Gigantamax. I feel like there is more room for variety with this because they showed how some Pokemon switch types and how even, for example, like Eevee, there could be multiple variants for these types, and obviously increases moves of that type with that Pokemon. And I know it doesn't look the most aesthetically appealing. I guess is a way to put it. Like it does. I understand why some people would think it looked ridiculous, but I also think there's a certain charm to it.
It's a giant chandelier on their forehead.
I mean, but it's relevant to the type. Like with Pikachu, they what is it? It had the balloons and it made it into a flying type. I think that's kind of interesting. I do think some of it looks kind of ridiculous. Like it does look strange when you first see it, but I kind of warm up to it a little bit. Something that I can't say I ever did with Gigantamax. Even though I do know it doesn't look the best with all the Pokemon, I admit that. I think we're gonna see some interesting cards though because of it. That's why I'm excited.
Some dumb looking ones, I think. So here's my thing.
Uh,
I pretty much disagree on everything you just said, except
yeah.
for one big thing. So with the Gigantamax Pokemon, like first off, like I have a certain aesthetic for the design of Pokemon. Like the cards I like are just like aesthetically pleasing to me because they're like laid out in a certain way or like there's certain symmetry. So like that's why this really irks me because it looks like I don't know, just very poor design to me. For the Gigantamax, I mean, they could have had variety there because a lot of the Gigantamax Pokemon got like a little design change, and so they could have implemented that in a way. And yeah, I didn't really like that either because it just made the Pokemon like giant, and the design of that doesn't look very good. But at least like the Pokemon kind of kept its identity, or like didn't have like a random accessory thrown on it. These like just look so bad to me because like they took the Pokemon and the sheet of like crystals it has on its body that actually looks cool, but then they just threw like a random. It's like something I would draw when I was like in kindergarten. Like, let's see how big and ridiculous it can get. Like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
kind of hard to explain like how I see it, but I see it as looking very bad. And it's gonna be on the Pokemon cards too, and I'm gonna think those are dumb. The Gigantamax cards, like I thought a lot of those were kind of dumb, but there were certain ones I liked, like Ditto from Shiny Star B. Like that one looks like a normal Ditto because of how it's positioned. So I don't know. It's just very hard for me to get over. I'm almost like disliking it more, like as I look at it. But the one thing I do agree on, though, I do like how it changes some of the types. Like that is a nice twist. Like you know, flying Pikachu. Like yeah, the balloons look kind of dumb, but it's cool that they added balloons and now he becomes a flying type.
Kind of dumb. Yeah, just kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But
And yeah, that's honestly not like the worst looking one because we're already used to that. So maybe something will change, but
what is it? Wait, Coco? Isn't that the name of the new fire starter?
yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's something like that. I do think the design, especially of the starters, is the best we've seen in quite some time. So I'm very excited about not just the evolutions,
Without
which
the
how
chandelier on their head, you mean?
well they can include the chandelier on the head because maybe it's going to be like a like imagine. Chandelure, are they gonna put a chandelier and chandelure?
What about a chandelier on chandelier? Just flip him upside down, and there you go.
Chandelure on
Crystallize.
yeah, there you go. We got a whole new mechanic. It's a brave new world out there for Pokemon.
Yeah, I just, I hate the game's gimmicks. Like, I don't know. Usually you can just ignore them. Like, Mega was actually cool because it was like another evolution, and like they designed those really well. Like, they went on to do like a full Pokemon design. And then the Z moves, they were just like an attack, so you could kind of ignore those. And yeah, then you got into the Gigantamax, and then this, you can't really ignore this. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I do want to play the games. That's not the only thing they showed, obviously. They showed a lot more gameplay running around the world. It looks really cool. There's apparently going to be 3 different stories to go after. One of the stories being like beat all the gyms and beat the Elite Four like we're used to. But then there's also going to be 2 other stories. So it just seems to be, they're really moving towards the open world and exploration part of Pokemon. This seems to be like a mix between like the Arceus game and the traditional Pokemon games, but set in like an Arceus type world. So
What was interesting was I actually just watched it before we started recording. What was interesting was there's no order in which you have to do the badges. I thought that was interesting.
yeah, I
So,
wonder if they'll scale like difficulty based on.
who's first and who's second? Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah,
Or if they have it to where, wow, there's no order in which you got to do it. The levels, like say if you go up against this gym, but it's technically supposed to be like the 5th gym you're going to go up against, and you're like level 5 or level 10 or whatever. I wonder if it'll be something like that as well. But it makes more sense that they scale it.
yeah. It'd be cool if like, yeah, your first gym, like you could pick any of the 8 gyms to battle first, and then whoever you picked, they all had like, yeah, level 10 Pokemon and like the first evolution of their Pokemon. But if you were to like do everyone else before that gym and you did that gym last, like they have the 3rd evolution and they're like level 60. So depending on how many badges you have, their Pokemon might level up or evolve when you encounter them.
Yeah.
It just makes me think like the gym leaders have like a PC box of Pokemon like we do. And based on your skill level, they choose which Pokemon they want to fight you with, because they're supposed to be like mentors in a way where they challenge you but don't make it too difficult so you can earn the badge. They don't want to just smack you down all the time. But so it'd be cool if they implemented something like that where they have like a pool of Pokemon based on your level. They chose certain ones, certain levels.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see if they thought about that. That's what I would have done. But we'll see what happens.
Yep.
I also like how the legendaries, they did announce that they will be helping you get around the world. So it makes you think like you get them pretty early on in the games.
Yeah, or earlier than like not the very end, anyways.
Yeah, like almost it seems like at the beginning because they showed them off a lot and they said they're going to be helping you on your journey.
But they didn't quite say. I'm thinking it's going to be like instead of like after or before Gym 8, you might be able to get it like Gym 3 or 4. But here's the thing. Like you're using a legendary, but I mean, I doubt you're gonna be able to use it in battle. I would think yet it'll be like maybe transportation only until you reach a certain level. I would think.
Yeah, I bet there's like a story element when you start, and then yeah, eventually like they'll join you in battle or something. I do think like they kind of look like motorcycles, but that's one thing Sun and Moon did right is they used like the way they used Pokemon to get around the map. Like you could fly with Charizard, you could run fast with Tauros, stuff like that. And this basically combines all that stuff into the legendaries, which is really cool because they're salamanders and they can do everything. So, be cool to see. I kind of want to play it, but might just have to ignore the crystallize. But
I think the RPG aspect could make it be one of the greatest Pokemon games in maybe ever, honestly. So we'll
yeah,
see.
I wonder what the other story's gonna be.
Yeah,
But
they didn't say anything, but two other stories he could play, which I think is interesting. They want to keep some of it secret.
but yeah. Other than that, I mean, all we have left is the Charizard UPC for 2022, which we really don't know much about. Um, we do have some images on PokeBeach that we were going to mention here. It's got the, like we said, the Celebrations UPC layout where it's a nice, like, rectangle box and it flaps open. It's got Charizard and then a Pokeball on the other side. And then on the inside, it's got a couple illustrations of Charizard and VMAX Charizard as well as a Pokeball.
The
And
color is what I find the most interesting part of this.
yeah, very colorful.
It's very gorgeous. I think it's very bright. It's very alluring. It's very welcoming. It's Charizard. I think now they went very minimalist on some of the design, especially like the front. It's basically like it's kind of like a silhouette in some ways of a Charizard.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not even
it's
silhouette. I guess it is. It's just all gray.
it's like an old school artwork too. I forgot what artwork that's on, but it's where he's like looking off to the distance and stuff like that. It's like a really old school artwork. I forget where that's from, but it's driving me kind of nuts. But yeah, I mean, we know some details. I think we already mentioned this. October 28th, $120. It's gonna have 3 etched foil promo cards: Charizard B, Charizard B Max, and Charizard B Star. A playmat featuring Gigantamax Charizard. Then you get the usual sleeves, metal coin, metal damage counter. So you get all the metal stuff that you did in Celebrations, but they do not mention anything of metal cards, which I figured we would know in this press release. So I think the metal Charizard and Pikachu are like a one and done type thing.
Yeah, and it looks like the. I'm assuming, maybe I should be assuming though, that these promos are going to be alt arts of the current Charizard VV Max and V Star, and I'm interested to see the artwork on these.
Yeah.
I because this is gonna. I imagine if they're giving it its own box, you would think that there's going to be some sort of amazing special art, right? Maybe all of them. I think that will dictate how crazy people go for it. Like if it's Charizard box and the art's just kind of meh, I imagine I mean, it'll sell, but it's not going to be like, oh man, I gotta have it. Like, gotta sell it for $400.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I think that's what we're all kind of thinking, right? Is like, are we gonna have to deal with what we had to deal with the UPC, with the Celebrations UPC?
Yeah, it all
Like,
comes
I couldn't
down to
even
like
get
people
one.
wanting the cards, you know.
Like, you had to go online for that, and that's what I found most frustrating. Was it was almost impossible to get MSRP because, I mean, the in GameStop, the ones in town for us, apparently this older woman cleared out like was at one at like 5 a.m. Two by two of them. So it's like I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'll pay $80 more because my time is more valuable to me. But because if we look at the lowest for the celebrations, it was like 230. I mean, I'm sure some you could maybe have found it cheaper, maybe, but I remember seeing them that low. So if we should assume the price is going to be about that at the lowest, because I think they're also going to be making a lot more of these. I mean, there's no proof, right? But everything we've seen this year is Pokemon printing more and more for these products to lower the price. So I and like especially on this secondary market, I would think it'd be the same for this product as well. The past 12 months has been just like I said, so for them to not do that with this would be very atypical and against everything they've done the last 12 months. But I mean, it's possible, but there's going to be a lot more of this one, I believe, and I think you'll see that.
Yeah, I think so too. And the reason why we didn't see the like more of the celebrations one or more restocks of the celebrations one, I think, is because of the metal cards specifically. You know, if
Hmm.
it's a normal card, they can print whatever, but those metal cards, we all know they have problems with chipping and all that. Grading
Yep.
companies won't even grade them right now. Um, so a lot of that production was tied up to those metal cards, believe it or not. And honestly, that's why it's such a good product. It's like one of the very few modern products that I endorse of like quote unquote investing in, but I'm rather like buy one for yourself and enjoy it because the cards are so unique. But we might not see that ever again. So these Charizard cards, they did have Pikachu V and a Pokeball in the celebrations UPC as well, which were all gold cards. So I bet these Charizards are going to be all gold Charizards, but they're not going to be metal. So, with that, I mean, they're still just normal cards, so they could print more of those. And so, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more. And no metal cards, but maybe full art gold cards or something.
Maybe I'd be kind of surprised if they went just all gold for the full arts. I mean, it's possible. I just it's kind of anticlimactic, you know. I If they went all gold cards. Um, I would like to see something more akin to a special art, all three of them. Will we get it? I have no clue, but that's what I'm wanting to see out of this product. I mean, I might get one anyways, just because I think it is a cool
Yeah.
box. I mean, but like I won't open it. It would be strictly to have in the collection, just to have it for this era.
I would like to get one and open one. I opened one of the celebrations UPCs and then I kept another. But this one I would like to just buy one of and open it just to have the cards.
Yeah, I mean, if it's only gold, yeah,
They make great storage boxes. Like I have random packs, Japanese boxes stuffed in mine. Like you can take one of these empty boxes and put it in your like collection and also double as a storage box, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I guess that's really about it for the news. That was a little longer than I thought, but
yeah, a lot
nice,
longer than we thought.
nice detailed news section. It's all good.
For sure, for sure.
But
Now,
yeah,
we gotta get to that main topic now.
all right. So yeah, on to the main topic. The next 50 years of Pokemon. What will Pokemon be like in the future? Will we be here in 30 years? What about retirement? What about cards being worthless? Are we reaching a point of too much? What generation will we be on?
That's
Lots
an
of
interesting one.
questions. Lots of questions. So, yeah. Oh, man. Where to start?
Yeah. Well, let's see. First, I think we kind of need to look at maybe just start from 5 years now and just kind of go onward to 50. And where do you think we're going to be in within 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. I guess we can go ahead and, yeah, give our whole layout all the way up. So, yeah, you want to go first or want me to?
You can go ahead.
All right. So, the next 50 years. So, when I think about this, I think of, baseball and stuff like that and how other things have been around much longer and where they're at. Baseball's been around going on 100 years, over 100 years now. And some cards date even farther than that. It's kind of a cloudy history as the start of baseball cards, but here we are today where cards are selling for millions of dollars. Will Pokemon reach that point? I think so. we might not reach to that extent because sports reach is just insane. Which, maybe when we're 50 years old, everyone knows Pokemon. Maybe that'll be peak as far as prices go. But one thing that I like to differentiate between them is, Pokemon is like characters. It's not like certain people. So Ken Griffey Jr. is a really popular baseball player, but for the next generation, like, yeah, they've heard the name, but they never got to like see him play and stuff like that. So unfortunately, with a lot of baseball, things kind of fade away, and we see that throughout everything. Players who aren't that good, or stars that are in another generation that weren't the best of the best, kind of fade away. And you have these outliers of the players who are the best of the best, like Ken Griffey Jr. For the set he's in. The set is pretty much like worthless to open unless you pull a Ken Griffey Jr. card. So what I'm getting at is I think Pokemon is going to be heading in a direction more like that. Whereas it might not be a certain player, but it might be a certain Pokemon. Because as we push into the thousands of Pokemon at the pace we're going, there's a lot of Pokemon that just get put to the wayside. Nobody's going crazy over a Weedle card. So, of course, Charizard's what you think about. So maybe in 5 years from now, maybe they're still printing Charizards, and if you pull Charizard, like, that's considered a hit. But yeah,
There's just, I'm gonna say, there's always been some Pokemon that have always been second or third fiddle compared to the big boys.
Yeah.
There's always been, I don't know, what's coughing
Yeah.
is one that kind of comes. I mean, it's kind of subjective, right? With some of them, maybe Magmar. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of Pokemon that you kind of do forget about. Not Magmar because it got an evolution, but I sometimes think about the baseline Magmar a lot. It's one of those ones I don't really think too much about. But
Yeah.
I do know its name, whereas there is some in the newer gens where I don't even know their name. That's how obscure they are. But it's hard to keep track with, as you mentioned, 1,000 different Pokemon, and plus with their variants. That's hard to have a running list of an encyclopedic knowledge to that point. Most people aren't going to have that.
Yeah, and if I gave you that explanation like 2 years ago before the craze, like, it would have been a much different answer. But opening a booster box of Pokemon cards was like kind of a huge deal. Like, if you did a video on YouTube opening a booster box, like, that was a nice video. Kind of crazy to open a whole booster box. Now, like, everyone is like becoming numb to pack opening. I was just watching some today, and it was a Stormfront box, like a box that I'm really nostalgic about. Came out in Diamond and Pearl era, like when I was collecting again. And like, it was cool to see the cards again, but I thought back for a second, man, it was just crazy to like watch someone's video, and instead of opening one pack this video, they're opening 3 packs this video. What will they get? And yeah, now you can turn on a Twitch stream and just see hundreds and hundreds of packs being opened every single day. Like, people are kind of becoming numb to it. And if you think about it, that's kind of what all of sports are to me. Like, I'm kind of just now getting a lot of knowledge into sports, but people just cracking boxes just to go after the chases, and that's kind of what Pokemon has become in the last 2 years. So going forward, I mean, I think that's just how the hobby's going to be. We're going to see like just an absurd amount of product just to be open just because. And, it's really all going to be out of the chase cards. Nobody's excited for a normal holo anymore like you were 5, 10 years ago. And so the whole set that Pokemon releases as a whole, just the experience is just way less now. So it's just become a thing where just the chase cards are the only thing that sticks out. Like every set might only have 1 to 5 cards or less that stand out, and everything else is just junk. One thing I look at with what was it, Vivid Voltage with the Chonkachu, like the amazing rare cards were pretty amazing. They look cool. They got like a glitter holo. They really pop. Those cards are like $5 a piece now. It's like people were flipping out about those for like a month, and then now they're just, oh well, now we have full arts and alt arts. So I think we're in a very weird place. Like the alt arts is a very nice thing, but I don't know, Pokemon has this habit of like changing up stuff really quickly before it even catches on or before they see how it plays out. And yeah, alt arts are good and all, but you know, we have these things like amazing rares that just kind of fizzled out. It's like, where'd they go? You know, nobody cares about rainbow cards anymore, stuff like that. And we're already getting like 10 plus alt art cards now. Like they've already ramped up the alt art cards. Granted, they're hard as hell to pull, but it's like they're already getting kind of crazy with the character selection or the character rares and stuff like that. Like they're already trying to push it more and more. It's like, come on, we got 50 years to go here.
Yeah, and you know, I wonder if what would happen if there was, whatever reason, a generation of Pokemon, or there's just something else that's going on outside the hobby, which causes a sudden loss of interest. What that could do to a lot of the product within the hobby for that era. I don't think you can look at Pokemon and say it's going to be gone the wayside at some point like it did with sports, because there was a time period with sports where people weren't really that interested in a lot of these sports cards. And I wonder if we could see that again. Not necessarily maybe 3 to 4 years from now, but what, maybe about 10 years from now.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of leaning into with the baseball as well, because I have 2 notes here. Like, are we reaching the point of too much, like baseball? Because yeah, in the junk wax era, like there was a low time of the hobby. Just it was just so much product. Those things aren't worth anything. The other point I have here is lower cards die and grails soar, meaning like Ken Griffey Jr. card goes up and up while the rest of the 99.9, every single other card in that set is worthless. And yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like Pokemon is pumping out these sets and they're just being opened like so much. There's just so much to go after. Like we're reaching the point where before now, collectors, if they wanted to, they could like enter the hobby and like go all the way back to base set and like collect a good majority of what they want. They could even set a goal and reach it semi quickly compared to like sports cards, where they can look at the entire library of Pokemon cards and put together their goal and complete it. You could go all the way back and still buy crystal cards, gold star cards for like, you know, I say semi cheap, but compared to like the best baseball card of a set with similar age, you know, we're reaching a point now though where that's kind of becoming unobtainable, especially with these alt art cards. And instead of having one card that's worth $100 in the set and then the rest of the set being $100 total, you know, we're having cards that are worth multiple hundred, and it's just getting way more expensive and stuff like that.
And It's interesting or really great that the news broke about the Charizard UPC because what would happen if a lot of the hobby starts growing weary of this Kanto infatuation? Obviously, Kanto sells, right? But there's a certain point where it can be too much.
I
And
think it's already happening.
I mean, I would agree with you. It is with me, but I can't say that what is true for me is true for the majority of the hobby.
Well,
But
if you look on that UPC announcement, every comment on Beach is like, ugh, like, oh, who would have guessed? Like almost like 90% of the comments. And there's also a thread on E4 about it, and it's the exact same way. A little more optimistic on E4, but there's a lot of like size and another Charizard product. But so people are already feeling it for sure.
and I wonder if it could cause some people to grow weary of Charizard. I do know it did for me. I'm also one of those people that kind of grew tired of it. Obviously, I'm still within the hobby with other means, and yeah, sometimes I will buy a Charizard card here and there. I mean, I'll buy the Radiant Charizard. I mean, I guess the ultimate goal is achieved, right? I'm spending money on it.
Yeah.
But there's a certain point where I feel like you got to start pushing other Pokemon. And either the show or the manga or wherever you want to start trying to push it to start, it's got to happen somewhere. And it'd be interesting to see what that Pokemon would be because I wouldn't be surprised if it would be whatever generation they're on that they try to push. They try to go all out like they did with Charizard and Greninja to try to get that next banger to see if maybe it would do something that could rival Charizard, or you could see something down the line where something like a Greninja over sees Charizard and they try to push that, which is a whole other thing in terms of analyzing certain markets within the hobby or certain cards in general. Um,
Or they've made a thing out of Mewtwo. Like Mewtwo gets a lot of love, but you have Lugia, who
yeah, or
like
Ho,
was giant star of Pokemon 2000 that is just as popular as the first movie. Like
or Entei, Suicune,
yeah, Entei in the third movie. Yeah,
Raikou,
it's just I don't know. And yeah,
but
Charizard like should get respect. Like
you
if
know,
I was done with collecting 100% and wanted to 100% only invest in Pokemon, like I would probably every month buy an unlimited base set Charizard. I just buy one every month as my investment because you can count on it. It's like the most sure thing. Everyone wants one. It's kind of like your ancient muse. It's like a
mm-hmm.
surefire thing. Everyone wants one.
I said, look, the Charizards were just like in crap condition. We're going for like $200 online.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like I would
like
just
I was
start
look,
scooping up as many as I can, just drying out the market, and then if you're not even making a dent, well, you have all these Charizards anyway. So I don't know. He does get respect. It's deserved, but I mean,
this one's only $100.
it's like yeah,
I,
it's just when is enough.
I know
Like
it's 200 though. But yeah, at a certain point, you might start alienating your younger base, and you might create another quote unquote dead era for the hobby. Pokemon might have done that on their own, just like how it took a while for the sports cards to recover from either the junk wax era. Like it took them quite a bit. I remember a lot of the cards whenever I collected, they weren't worth anything.
yeah,
And only certain cards really from that era are worth anything. Whereas nowadays, yes, it's a little bit different because a lot of people are like trying to hype which is going to be the next Mike Trout card. And a lot of it is all speculation about trying to get that card and sell it at the right time because it matters so much based on whether or not they're gonna make the Hall of Fame.
hmm
But
I think the biggest thing for sports and like how they got out of the junk wax era. You know, they did serialized numbers or like one of ones and one of tens and the number systems, and then the different refractors and hollow patterns and all the stuff like that. You know, there's a whole entire world of sports cards that's just like kind of blown out of proportion. Like, yeah, there you might get a Yadier Molina rookie, but there's also a gold, there's a black, there's a, you know, cracked ice. There's just so many variants, and I think
It's hard to keep track, and it's intimidating too for that.
yeah, well, I
And
think that's what Pokemon's going to be too, with the species instead of like the variant.
yeah,
Like, I don't know, baseball, you know, you got the player, and in that player, you have all these variants, signatures, cracked ice, all that stuff I just said. In Pokemon, it's going to be the species. Like, okay, instead of the player, you have the Charizard, but that Charizard, you have the first edition, you have the V full art, you got all these variations. So I think they're really similar in that way. But if you look at the same eras, the junk cards of, you know, baseball are like the players who aren't worth anything. The junk cards in Pokemon, which, you know, right now we're kind of entering a peak junk card era, I think, is all these modern packs that are being opened, all the non hollow rares. Like, there's just so many of those being opened, and they are like so worthless already.
hmm
Like, those are going to be like nothing.
you see, one thing that gives me hope that this won't happen is the alt arts. And the alt arts, I can't see individuals growing tiresome over just because I mean, nostalgia and art is the reason why we pretty much collect this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if you have amazing art, and if you keep on turning out amazing art, I can't imagine the people that are passionate about this would grow weary of that. Because whereas with the junk wax era and other baseball aspects, it took them a while to recover about how to bring people back. Because people were so scared after they thought, oh, you know, they heard about the Mickey Mantle card that sold in the 80s. And they figured, oh, yeah, sports cards are going to be a surefire investment. And then Topps just printing and printing and printing to demand. You can still buy those cards for cheap.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Pokemon do that. Yes, they are printing a lot, but the market is able to absorb what they're printing. So yes, the bulk is going to be insane. Absolutely insane, 100%. And yes, you will probably see a decrease in bulk prices. I would think anyways. But people are still able to consume the product, so it's like
Yeah,
what came first, you know?
it's more about the chase rather than set completion now.
That is also true. And how many people are switching to the more collector side rather than chasing for the quote unquote money
Yeah.
and having that banger? Because a lot of people, you're right though, a lot of people, it seems like in the hobby, they go with the next set, and what they spend on is the next set, and they might find something that they like, but they still are consuming newer sets each and every time.
Yeah. I'm just
And could that create burnout between a large portion of the hobby? I mean, we don't think so because we're still here, right?
yeah.
But is it possible that a certain portion of the percentage that is primarily still chasing, that they just grow tired of it if after a certain point within their life and just kind of start fading out less in the hobby?
Yeah, I think it's gonna happen like that, but for me it's gonna be like oversaturation. Like, you're gonna get like so many Charizard cards where like they all kind of fade away except for like the key cards. You know, right now we have like, yeah, Charizard, Pikachu, Mewtwo, or even like sets like first edition base set and stuff like that. But like as you stretch the sets out over a long period of time where people can't collect it all, or like don't have interest in it all, like you're going to see the spikes get higher and then the valleys on the chart get like lower. Like a lot more stuff is going to get buried. Like, I don't know, maybe Neo Hollows get kind of buried because they're just a hollow, but like certain
I
key
think
cards like
WotC would be
Lugia
its own
Hollow.
thing. I think it's more with distinguishment amongst modern sets, in my opinion,
Yeah, that is
because
true.
WotC is its own thing, and WotC will always be its own thing within Pokemon. It will always be probably the most steady of all cards within the hobby. I would say
Yeah, I think it's
because you,
I think it's the best long term too, because yeah, no matter what happens, if there's oversaturation and like there's already like less desirable stuff in like Gen 3, Gen 4, we know that. But everyone goes back to WotC. If no matter how modern's doing, like WotC's always strong, even though WotC prices are pretty dirt cheap right now because
yep.
a lot of collectors haven't really grown up with it. The new people coming into the hobby with how crazy modern is, but it'll always be there as like the foundation. But even then, though, like WotC's kind of a large selection, so I don't know.
Within WotC, yeah.
There's just
But
so many factors to take into account. It's really hard. We're just kind of throwing stuff out in the air, but
well, there was one thing that you brought up that I also wanted to hit up on, and that was so say in 20 years, right? That's 7 generations from now, approximately. So we're talking 15, 16, and I don't know what their least generation is. I think it was Gen 6, because unless you include the megas, but it was like a little less than 100. But let's just assume they have 100 each generation. I mean, with variants, I mean, you're talking about 1,000 Pokemon
mm-hmm.
within 20 years. You're talking, so we're talking over 2,000 Pokemon and variants. So,
Yeah, it's going to be insane. That's another thing. Like, if Pokemon wanted to kind of prevent this, they like should tone it down. Like, that's another thing. I think we're going to get oversaturation of Pokemon, oversaturation of games, sets, cards, Charizard being his millionth card. Like, it's just going to be too much to consume. And I think modern will always be strong going forward because that's their focus. That's all they care about. Modern, no matter what, if the hobby's in a low or the hobby's at a craze, they're always going to have something spicy. And that's why we're seeing the alt arts and stuff do so great now.
well, you
But
see, I think this is you also hinted about it. I think this is when we start to approaching becoming multi-generational within the hobby. Right
mm,
now, we're not quite there. I mean, we are, right? Because people with their kids or millennials with their kids, the prime age for Pokemon, uh, we're already seeing it a little bit. But with every year, every era, there's more kids that into the hobby and grow up. And with that growth, they have more buying power, or they get closer to the time where they do have more buying power. And either they're still in it or they come back to it. It's eventually going to be more individuals within the hobby because Pokemon is multi-generational already, but not necessarily the cards. So as we see that development with just the natural progression of time, and we start having more individuals within the hobby, what is potentially deemed some of the hobby's favorites can change. The favorite Pokemon, I should say, can change and alter.
yeah,
And it I think Kanto will, for a long time, will continue to reign supreme and will always, always be towards the top. I can't imagine it falling completely off from the spectrum. However, I could see certain other eras start playing a larger role, and I do believe one of those will be Greninja.
yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And like a lot of those kids who grew up with Greninja being the star, like a lot of kids those age, like maybe approaching, you know, 5 to 10 years old now for the majority of them.
Well, some of them are in high school, so it
Well, I mean,
depends
like
on
the
like.
yeah, most of the kids who are like buying packs like for the first time now
Oh,
too.
okay, yeah.
So like they're genuinely interested in Pokemon. Like you see it everywhere. Like kids are into Pokemon, but you know when they're older and they have money, it's like are they gonna want to collect before now? Like are they gonna want to collect WotC? Or they're gonna just think
Probably,
of WotC as
maybe.
like these ancient cards that everyone has to
Yep.
have.
So you'll
But
start having more niches within the hobby. You'll start seeing that,
yeah,
and that could strengthen certain markets while also weight weakening others based on people's preference of those cards within either that species or that set or that era.
yeah. Overall, I think you're just gonna see, like I said, just a slow bleed because there's just so many options. Like, you know, for me, I love my gold stars. Gold stars are great, but there's so many other options to collect. Like, they're in the dead era of Pokemon, so Charizard, base set Charizard wins over a lot of the gold stars. So I don't know. I think that is going to happen more often and stretched out for far more periods of time. And, you know, also you can pretty much buy any booster box of Pokemon cards and guarantee it's going to go up because at this rate, like, people want to open up old stuff. Booster boxes I've opened are like thousands of dollars now, and I didn't think twice about ripping those things open. But
Well, there's a lot of people keeping stuff sealed, but I do think a lot of certain of the premier sets will reach a couple thousand per booster box eventually. I do believe that.
it's
It's
going to
just
be a
going to take a
lot.
while.
Yes, it is going to be a lot slower than we've seen in the past.
Yeah, it's going to take like maybe instead of it being maybe 10 years like you've seen with some of the uh, black and white era and before, it's probably going to take probably I don't want to say double, but it's going to take significantly a little longer. I would say several years for sure.
Yeah. Like if we have another hype within the next 5 years, like
But then that would be interesting because all of a sudden Evolving Skies would be absolutely through the roof, even though the pull rates are atrocious.
I was getting ready to say, if we have another boom in the next 5 years, Evolving Skies might hit 1,000.
Like it'll follow the steps of evolutions. Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
But yeah, then all
If
the
we
other sets might just be 100 to 500, depending on how popular they are.
People be tracing that Umbreon, you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's okay to also buy a certain amount of packs, especially if you set a limit for yourself. Like I'm always paying like 200 to 300 on this set, and you stick to that, and you don't get it. I mean,
Yeah. Like,
but perhaps that's you just enjoy opening packs, and you don't care. You just what you get from your packs is what you get, and that's it.
one thing, like, one thing I'm experiencing now is like the most fun I could have in the hobby right now is like buying packs of cards that I got when I entered the hobby again. And that's a lot of Diamond and Pearl sets. So like kids today might feel that. So like, you know, that's pretty safe to say. Like Evolving Skies, people are gonna want to open Evolving Skies for a long time because people, it's just so ingrained in the hobby now. Just as a great set, but yeah, will they want to go beyond that? Go, you know, open evolutions or something like that? It's just
Or even open anything else from this era. Like, how much will the other stuff from this era kind of just be forgotten about? It'll just be certain cards. Like, for example, like with Fusion Strike, maybe it would just be the Mew, although it's not a very good art for the Mew, so maybe not. But you know, like maybe the Genesect or some card that keeps value. But it seems like if you look 10 years, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I think you're looking at even some of these alt arts kind of being lost because some of these Pokemon will become forgotten about by a lot of people.
yeah.
And
Now at
even
the
now,
rate
you
they're
can
going,
find,
like I said, they're just pumping them out. So
yeah,
I mean, they're all gonna thin out because only the top ones stick out.
You're already seeing it with their price. You know, a lot of them are already starting to decrease. Has been for a while.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where we think it's heading. I'm gonna go through my points here, see if we touched on a lot of these. The only thing we didn't talk about is like when we retire and stuff, so we'll save that here for a second. Um, I have what will make cards worthless. I kind of touched on that. Just
Yeah.
mass opening like we're doing. Just pretty much 90% of the box already is worthless.
Yep.
Just think of like
Unless
Neo.
they,
Yeah, go ahead.
unless basically the English, like we talked about this before, and what we'd like to see Pokemon do. Unless we start seeing they increase the quality of the English pack to
Yeah,
give reason to collect, like you can with the amazing quality with the Japanese cards. It'll attract more people to appreciate all the cards in the pack, or a lot more. You just appreciate how finely made they are. Whereas in people might buy less, but people would appreciate more in the hobby. Well, you can still make the pull rates atrocious, I guess, for the businesses of the world for Pokemon, because
yeah,
I mean, they do have to make money, so like that's how they see it. So that's how the perspective how you have to view it.
yeah. I was gonna say if you look at the Neo sets, you can still buy non-hollow sets for pretty cheap, but they're pretty much any set. I mean, the common, uncommons, and even non-hollow rares, they might be anywhere from $1 to $5 a piece in extreme cases. Just imagine like non-hollow complete sets of sets today. Like you'll pick them up for like $5. So that is one thing the alt arts do balance out. Like, you could buy a Neo set non-hollow complete for like $100, and the hollows are going to cost you, multiple hundred. Well, you flip that over to a modern set, and like you could buy the non-hollows for like pennies on the dollar. Complete it for like $30, but then you have to buy that one alt art that's like multiple hundreds. So it kind of balances out in a way.
Yeah,
So I don't know. It's just they've changed so much over the years, and especially the last 2 years. It's just we're just in such a different world with the mass opening and the interest of the hobby onto the next thing, onto the next thing. I don't know. It's just gonna be well. It is impossible to tell, but this is just kind of our ideas of how things might go.
yeah.
But
I mean, I think there's pretty much no way for Pokemon cards to go worthless, completely worthless. Maybe some of the bulk might be like a cent, but I just kind of wanted to say my piece on that overall. But I just don't see a world where they'll be so cheap that they're like worthless, like the Junk Wax era. I don't think it'll be that bad. I think
yeah,
Pokemon does a decent job in printing to about what they need. It seems like they're really doing a good job with that because I still go anytime I go to Walmart. It seems like there's still some product there, but a lot of it is sold. So they're able to sell what they're able to decently gauge what how much they need to print at this point. So hopefully they keep that in mind going forward. So certain cards don't completely buy them out for certain eras because that might lose some people potentially their interest in the hobby. But I mean, if
yeah,
that's the case, then I mean they're probably never long for the hobby anyways. But there, as we mentioned, there's a lot of people that are going for the chase for the value of the card. So it could take some people with it. But
and
I
I
don't
think
think it'll be as bad as sports. Or
yeah, I think that is a good point. And I just thought of something like with you saying that, I almost think like junk wax or junk box era is like future proof for Pokemon. Because one of the main differences is like people love opening the Pokemon cards based off if it's worth it or not. And with baseball, the reason a lot of those boxes were worthless is because, yeah, I mean, they were printed to oblivion, but
hmm
there's no noticeable like players. Like no one cares about Joe Schmo, third baseman. Whereas if you open up, a set today, It's like, or any of the old sets in the future. Like if you open up Evolving Skies for $2,000, you know, 20 years from now or whenever it is, an Umbreon is still an Umbreon. Like
Hmm.
Umbreon didn't retire 20 years ago. Like he's still a character in Pokemon.
Still
Granted,
gaining new favorites. People
yeah,
that consider it his favorite.
granted, like a lot of the not so favorite Pokemon might go the way of Joe Schmo third baseman, but popular Pokemon like Charizard and all those big guys, you know, they're lifetime Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that because I had a conversation with a coworker and he's about 10 or 11 years my junior, so I'm about 31. He's in his early 20s. His favorite Pokemon is Umbreon.
yeah,
So, and Umbreon is our top five as well. So there are some Pokemon that will be continually seen as many people's favorite. But of the 2,000 Pokemon, you gotta be careful with not all in that being like the first couple of gens. You gotta disperse that within each generation. And I don't think they've done that very well so far for some, but some of the newer ones need time. But there are some Pokemon where they do neglect. I think Swampert was one of them, actually. I remember looking just cards for certain Pokemon because I was just curious, and I know Swampert seems to be pretty neglected.
yeah,
Just as an example, just that one Pokemon. I mean, there's many others in other generations that could be given more love
yeah.
that
They're
are Lego's favorite.
yeah the characters themselves, like Charizard, Umbreon, Swampert. They're the Mickey Mantles of Pokemon, except they're still making cards of them, so they live on. Like it's just a weird dynamic and different aspect of applying it, but yeah, it's interesting. The only other thing we didn't quite touch on is like what we see ourselves doing in the future.
Well, there is one other thing, and that was, I think in about 20, we kind of hinted at it throughout the episode, but in about 20 to 30 years, I think, we'll start seeing this sweet spot where several generations have significant buying power within the hobby at the same time. In our generation, you have people from currently that are about what mid 30s to late 20s that are very big into the hobby and are pretty much the what you would say the OG Pokemon people that were there when the first generation of Pokemon and that hype, the original late 90s hype.
Yeah. The people that you're
So
going to see on the news showing their $1 million collections.
like
Like,
that old guy we saw at the National with the SGC 9.5 Mickey Mantle. That's exactly what you're going to see in 20 to 30 years.
yeah,
And in that individual's case, he said he like maybe someone else can enjoy it, but he has kids. The guy was in his early 60s. He wants it sold, and he wants it for his retirement and to pass it on to his kids. That's what it is. He wants it liquidated, and you're going to see that with a lot of people when it gets to that point. So in 30 years from now, approximately, there will be a time where you better hope you're not holding the wrong thing or hoping to try to sell the wrong thing. Because there will be a time where in 30 years, a lot of people could be trying to sell the same thing, trying to
yeah,
sell, but certain things within the hobby, like we mentioned, WotC, anything pretty much first edition, regardless of condition, I would think at that point in 30 years, is going to be able to sell for a decent amount of money.
well, that's
And
why I would
people,
put money in Charizards if I was strictly investing. It's like,
I mean, yeah, if you're, so, but you're also going to have not just that generation, but that individual's children generation interested within the hobby as well. Now, I think it'll be at that point you'll have enough difference in generations where its own market can be created and its own buying power and everything. Especially like it's not necessarily so much in love or obsessed, if you will, over the Charizard. A generation where yes, they grew up with Charizard, but it's not that core. It's not their generation's Charizard, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I think, in my opinion, one of those is, I know I mentioned it several times, is Greninja. And I think it'll be really interesting to see some cards that aren't necessarily seen as hot items right now because that generation hasn't developed enough for that market to be created. I wonder how it will alter some of the, or pretty much dictate some of the cards that are seen as era defining, or how that could change.
Hmm. Yeah, I do think that, yeah, I'll probably be collecting all the way through in some way. Like, yeah, I would hope that my collection goals would be done and I'm done buying just random cards I like. But
Hmm.
I feel like I'd always, in a way, contribute a little bit, whether that's just buying up first ed or base set Charizards just to build a position of them. And then when that time comes, sell like one every week or something. Like, I don't know. I'll always be here keeping tabs through and through. For my personal collection, I mean, the only thing I can see long term outside of WotC binder sets is, my Japanese promos, like cards that really stand out across the entire hobby. And then my gold stars, which that's just kind of a personal thing. But other than that, I mean, if I really essentially had like unlimited money, I would like go back and like just build positions of stuff I already have. Like I'd finish my binders, I'd buy like all of my Japanese full art cards that I really love and that I think are just so iconic that I have to have. And then I'd probably, be the gold star guy. I just buy up every gold star I saw, maybe every first edition Charizard, every base set Charizard I saw. Just if I had millions and millions of dollars, like just start picking them up slowly but surely, taking them out of the market. It would just be a fun thing to do, kind of lucrative and an obscure thing to do, but it would just keep me engaged and I believe in it. So I think I would do well doing that, and someone could very easily do well doing that right now. But
Hmm.
you see it in Magic because Magic the Gathering, they have the reserved list where it's like a list of cards that WotC said they would never reprint again. Even though I would not trust WotC nowadays because they're just real shady with Magic and just money grab machine over there. But a lot of people would buy out cards in Magic the Gathering. They'd look at reserve list cards and just buy certain cards out, kind of control the market. So you might see that in Pokemon as we get a little older, and Magic's player base is a little older than Pokemon. So, I mean, that might not be too far off here.
We can start analyzing it. Yeah, you're absolutely right, because we're looking at some of the people for Magic. They're starting to push in their 50s.
Yeah. Yeah, and like we're already seeing that to some extent. People like Logan Paul buying multiple first edition base set boxes. He just bought a position of it. He didn't buy just two, one to open, one to keep. He's like buying a position, and Gary with his Charizards and stuff like that. So yeah, I could see myself collecting, like I said, for a long time, and then when that time comes, the blending of generations, I would probably sell a lot of stuff. I don't know, maybe to retire early if you know stuff was going well, which maybe they'll all be worthless by then. If that's the case, I'd probably just keep it all. If it's worth a lot, I'd sell a good chunk of it, but there's always a handful of cards that I would keep just to bring with me and pass down or something like that.
Yep, absolutely. I'm just saying that long a time, there will be some stuff that I will take to the grave with me, or pass it on. But a lot of it will be down to the core collection and just kind of cards that I just kind of liked. Cards that might not be worth necessarily a huge amount, but could be worth a little something.
Yeah.
Like whoever ends up inheriting it. But I imagine I'll have most of that sold by the time I'm 60, I
Yeah.
would think. I would think by then I would have a more minimalized collection down to just the things, basically a lot of things that I'm buying now, I think. And some of the things I'm buying now, I might end up selling if the money's worth it. Like for example, the Scream side up.
Yeah. A lot of stuff I would
Like
keep is just my binders,
I
not
mean,
even really my grade
exactly.
stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Everything I have graded pretty much, I would sell, and I would just have the raw stuff with the binders. It gets to a certain point where the money's going to be life changing. Added it all up. I mean, at a certain point, I imagine my collection. I mean, I kind of have a rough idea of what my collection's worth now. This kind of with the cards. Assuming the cards and the grades I'll probably get, and I am continually buying the right stuff, and I'm even making some some guesses, educated guesses on what I think will do well long term. That yeah, I plan on selling either to get the grails if that opportunity arises. Like if I can sell for some of those RCS Illustrator promos, absolutely. And if not for that, pretty much paying down in house I have, I imagine.
Yeah.
So
I ran the numbers on my collection not long ago, and yeah, it kind of surprised me because the last time I did it was 2018, I think,
yeah,
which kind of surprised me then. But yeah, lot bigger number now. And then just
and
thinking of like what it would have been if I just sold everything in 2020. Like, I mean, it was essentially life changing money for me. And
and at the end of the day, that's more important than collecting cardboard because you won't sell completely everything, but you'll sell like 95. You'll just sell the bare minimum. You'll just keep the bare minimum and sell everything else worth a lot of value.
yeah,
And it gets to a
well,
certain point.
I found out it wasn't life changing enough, I guess, because I didn't sell a lot of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just like kept holding true. I'm like, yeah, it might go up even more. It might just stay the same. Even if I knew it was gonna go down, like I wouldn't have sold. I would have sold more, obviously, but I wouldn't have sold as much as like normal people, I think, because I just essentially ignored the stuff. I bought more in the last 2 years than I did in the last, four before that. So it's just really spiked my interest even more and just more active in buying and stuff and all that. But just
Yeah.
weird how it all works. But I guess that'll be about it for the main topic, though. I mean,
Well, I was just going to say one thing real quick.
yeah,
When you shoot down to about 50 years from now, this is way too far for really any of us to guess. It is complete speculation. But in 50 years, it'll be interesting to see what this mass, I don't want to say, when our generation starts dying, it'll be interesting to see what that would do to WotC, certain parts of WotC, how that would influence the those markets at that time.
yeah,
And because one thing, because I look at a lot of estate sales, and I mean, most estate sales are like, somebody's the matriarch and the patriarch have both passed within the family, and they're just trying to get rid of it and sell the house and all that. And you see kind of these similar elements, and you see a lot of the toys of their generation. Well, it's going to be the same thing with us, but it's going to have a lot of Pokemon in it and a lot of other things, like certain comics, like Batman, Marvel, DC, whatever.
yeah,
And it's going to be interesting. You can start getting unlimited. I mean, I'm sure a lot of it's going to be WotC, and it might even be like Evolving Skies, and it'll just be interesting to see how that will make the market go because you'll start seeing how many of these cards that weren't in circulation that pretty much make the price of certain items what they are. But now that they've entered the market, I mean, I imagine a decent portion would re-enter the market. It would really, really lower the price of a lot of those things because a lot of people they're printing a lot, and a lot of people are keeping everything in mint condition. And I think you might start to see the outcomes way down the line of this era and how the era is proceeding because of that. And I also think there's going to be a certain point down the road where as our population decreases, because it's been the population growth has decreased substantially the last decade or so, last 10, 20 years, and it's
Yeah.
continuing to decrease. In fact, I was just looking at it. This past year was the lowest growth percentage of population since basically the founding of our nation. And yeah, there are factors with the pandemic and all that, but that this is a trend, the downward trend that's been around for a while. So it would be interesting to see how that will play long term with less people. You already see less population in Japan. Their population has decreased over time. And yes, Pokemon is still huge there, but it's still a possibility that there will be less people involved in Pokemon
Yeah.
because of it. So
It'll be like the rich get richer, like the rich will like buy everything up, and they'll be the ones like I said on TV showing their $1 million collection while
yep.
everyone else thinks it's kind of dumb. But it is what it is. And yeah, you'll have a lot less stuff like we talked about that's worth that much. But then you'll have outliers like the Charizard who will become like the Mickey Mantle if Pokemon is still somewhat popular, of course.
No, and
You'll
it's also
have the key cards will be even more key, and then the second place cards will be kind of less. Like the gaps are gonna widen between all cards. You know, it's the easiest way to put it. If that makes sense.
well, yeah, and it'll be interesting. Another thing, it'll be interesting to see how climate change and individuals who, try to combat it, the governments, whatever societies try to combat it, how that will change Pokemon and their products, how they present them, how they ship them, all of that in 50 years. I'm not saying that people are going to want virtual cards because people will always prefer to have something in their hand, but I am interested to see how that will change the presentation of and purchasing of cards in the future, and how that could change the desirability of Pokemon and what they have at that time. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe people will have adapted and
Everybody's gonna have digital collections, and it's gonna be
NFTs.
it's gonna be kind of I can honestly see this happening. It's gonna be kind of like NFTs where like you buy a virtual pack. I mean, just like card games today, you buy virtual packs or virtual boxes. You can do that on Magic Arena, but like instead, each card you get has like a unique ID or something like that tied to some blockchain technology, NFT style, where like that card, even though it's digital, it's like unique to that copy and you can trade it, do whatever. And I could definitely see that happening. But if
Or
that
you can have
happens, you would want it to be sooner rather than later. So like we have less of a physical card pool. But yeah, people, at least until we die, people are going to want to open things and hold things.
I agree. I mean, this is way down the line, but it's just interesting to speculate.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know what you think. Like, we didn't really give defined lines of what Pokemon was going to be in the next 50 years, but, you can't tell, obviously. But there's just so many factors that, like, twist and turn. I mean, just looking at the last 4 years, like, how much Pokemon has changed in the middle of that. Like, 2018, 2019 versus 2020 and 2021. I mean, it just seems like we're going down a path that was just totally different and just way out of proportion given just 2 years ago before everything went crazy. But yeah, we'll let you know in 50 years on episode 5,000 and probably
If
like,
I even make it to 80,
yeah.
let me get with my family history. Let me just like if I get to 70 with my mind still intact, I will be eternally grateful.
Yeah.
Honestly, so
So tune in to episode 5,000 and something.
yeah, for sure. You never know.
All right. Well, let's hop into the questions. Mine kind of relates to the normal topic, but pretty quick question segment, I think here. And we do have a different type of game coming up, so be interesting. But yeah,
Yes.
for my question relating to the future of Pokemon, specifically your Pokemon, you're dying in 6 months without a doubt. you're dead in 6 months. What do you do with your cards right now? Would you sell? What would you do? You're dead in 6 months.
Um, you go now. You're dead in 6 months. Go. Um, if I was told that, I would probably, well, okay. I mean, I don't have a lot of time to like sell things, right? To try to go somewhere to see something. I mean, I would
Guess maybe a
that.
year. You're dead in a year.
Okay, a year. Okay, a year. Well, let's do a year. I have time to find a buyer for all my collection and go see a place. I would probably do that.
You're dead.
Um,
You're dead in a year, but you have a 1 week period where your time is free. So like it's completely dedicated to doing whatever loose ends you got to tie up.
okay. I mean, if it were, if I was financially better off, like, I mean, I'm paying off like a lot of debts right now. So what I would do would a lot of debts from moving, by the way, not from making bad financial decisions. I wanted to elaborate on that one, but um, right now I'd be kind of screwed if that were
Yeah.
to happen. Like I would probably sell a decent amount uh, to pay off that debt. But like, say if it were like 2 years from now, where like I'm doing amazing and all that, and I would probably sell a decent amount of it so I could go travel somewhere.
Yeah.
I would definitely, it would be worth seeing somewhere. I mean, I would just say, let's screw it. Let's just go to Europe, backpack through Europe, just see to see there. Like if that's what ends up happening, and then it'd be worth it. Because at the end of the day, this is just cardboard. Like there is some stuff I would pass along to the next generation, but I guess it'd be like my brother's kids or something like that. But
Yeah.
I would pass on something to so that they can have it. But a lot of it I would sell to afford to go on like travel basically until I'm dead.
Yeah, I would do that too. I would like keep one card because, at this point, like people I'd pass it down to didn't get to like hear my story, so it's like it'd be like nothing to them. So yeah, I'd probably sell it and then just have the one card leave behind as like a memory. Then yeah, I'd go travel or something. Because yeah, at that point, I mean, only a year out, it's like, well, I was expecting to enjoy these for like 30 plus years. So just kind of puts it in a different perspective.
Okay.
So yeah, what you got?
So this is kind of similar, but like on the opposite side of your question is, what would it take for you to lose complete interest in Pokemon slash collecting Pokemon?
Well,
Would it take for you to die, or would it be something else?
um, I guess if I knew I was gonna die in a year, so that would be, I just totally lose interest and focus on that. But if I was still going on, um, I don't know. I mean, I could see myself losing interest already as far as like buying stuff. I would always want to like make content or like be engaged somehow. But as far as like buying stuff for the collection, like my collection has like an end goal. So if I reached that, like I'd be pretty much totally done. And then just, probably still collect, but buy more of the stuff that I already have, like just buy multiples. But yeah, so I could see myself maybe a lot sooner than most people would think about being done as far as the collection goes and just focusing somewhere else in the hobby. Now, if it was for like just being totally disconnected from the hobby, like I don't know what that would be. Um, Maybe if they just kept making the games crazier and crazier where like I didn't want to play them at all. Like, I haven't played Sword and Shield. Like I've kind of stayed away from the games because I didn't really like the games, the direction they were going. But I think I'll enjoy like Scarlet and Violet and then like the next Pokemon game. Like I think I'll really like once they flesh out more of the RPG style. But if they kept getting ridiculous with that and just made some really dumb decisions and I don't know, Pokemon cards just became worthless or unentertaining to open, which I mean, they're kind of getting to that point for me now, but I could still buy the old packs and have fun there, like I said. So, I mean, modern for me, it's kind of already there. Like, I love the alt arts and I love looking at the stuff. And yeah, I want to buy a few just to have, but like, I really don't care to open packs. You know, I never open anything, but I could see it dwindling, but I really don't know what it would take to totally be shut off.
I think, I mean, I might come back, but I could see a situation where down the road I find a hobby where it completely like takes all my attention and I get really good at it. I can see forgetting about a lot of other things, including Pokemon, because there are times where like, for example, I get so into photography that I don't care about any other hobby that I have. So I
Yeah.
could see a situation where maybe it's a new hobby that I discover where I just like, oh, I don't have interest in it at all. Like it wouldn't be like a flip of a switch; it'll be like a gradual thing. But and then I'll probably come back to it in like 10 years and be mad at myself that I ever left.
I'm like that with games and stuff, and then like Pokemon Go and stuff. Like when I'm into something, like I go kind of crazy, and like I want to be the best, and very competitive with games. So I like go all in. But Pokemon has always been the thing that's like stayed. Yeah, I might be more engaged or less engaged at some times, but I always come back, and even when I'm into other things, it's always like in the background. But yeah, the last, I don't know, 4 years or so, it's been a noticeable uptick where it's kind of, instead of being in the background, it's kind of front and center, even though there might be other hobbies or things, just as equal. But I
But
mean,
you
it,
could have your daughter pretty much grow a hobby, and you try
yeah,
to have her succeed as best you can. That becomes your prime. Like say she got I don't know, got into gymnastics or softball or something,
yeah,
and that becomes where all of your time is like taking her places, all of your free time, and like you have very little free time to delve into the hobby itself.
yeah. But even then, like at night when I go to bed, I can chill on eBay and buy stuff, and
Just
that,
stay up later. Stay up
yeah,
later. Get up earlier.
that doesn't affect my nighttime eBay searches. But the key is to get her into Pokemon, so like after practice, we can go buy a pack. And yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, it's weird. Like you just don't see an end right now. But guess we can head on over to the game. This might be
The longest episode ever.
another long episode. Well, I
Like,
mean, the game, we can kind of keep this short and then we'll elaborate on this again. Like,
we might as well just go all in at this point. Go all in.
well, I want to keep it kind of short because we
Okay,
need
okay,
to address it again after it's played out.
okay, okay.
So we're going to do over and under. We're going to give a statement or a question, and then we're going to both give a brief explanation on why we think one or the other. And then we'll revisit this in a few months once some graded copies come back and we'll see what's happening. So, the question for me, maybe stylized a little different, but I had in 2 years, will the special delivery Charizard be over or under the Bidoof? And what about the Pikachu? So 2 years time. What you think?
So the special delivery Bidoof will definitely be more than the special delivery Charizard. That is my opinion of it because I think they're going to be printing a lot more. Now, this is all speculation from our limited information that we have. Like, it's very limited. But there seems to be quite a few people acquiring these codes. I've actually now know a couple of people that have gotten a code. Not me yet, unfortunately.
Yeah,
uh,
me neither.
but Yeah, but I actually do know a few personally that have been able to get it. Now, I know it's anecdotal, so take it with a grain of salt. But if that's the case, then I imagine that's just there's a lot of people getting these codes already. And with this slow rollout, we're like only week 3 of 12.
Yeah.
I imagine almost anybody that's legit is what I think. Anybody that's legit and they can verify that had an email and everything else, they're going to send a code to. That's what I think with some of the trends they've had with printing. But again, this is based on limited information, so definitely could be wrong. I'm just saying I could be wrong. That's definitely possible. I'm not. No one's perfect, uh, but I think that's going to go down further in price than it already is.
Yeah.
But the Bidoof has been staying steady.
Yeah. Well, it's also been fleshed out. One thing I was going to mention, Bidoof's been out a year right now, where Charizard has just came out.
Hmm.
So yeah, Charizard still has some way to go as far as downward goes.
Okay,
But
but I don't
my
think the special delivery Bidoof went below 140, but I could be mistaken. I remember looking at it, and the lowest I remember when I began looking at it, it was like 140 sealed or so. And you're already seeing that special delivery Charizard go under 140 right now, and we're only week 3 of a 12-week rollout of these codes.
yeah. Well, my hot take, just for competitive sake, I do think it's going to take longer, but I'll say in 2 years the Charizard is going to be more than the Bidoof. So in 2 years, Bidoof will have a full extra year on Charizard, which will hurt the Charizard. But that the Charizard should be fully fleshed out. People who got it graded will have it back. But realistically, I'd feel more comfortable saying like 4 or 5 years. But I think it could happen in two. It's going to take a lot to do it, though. Now,
No, I just don't see it. I think there's gonna. I mean, yes, there'll be more. Okay, there'll be some people who want it because might want it more because it actually says Charizard. But I believe that because Special Delivery Bidoof is essentially a meme card, I mean, let's be real. The main subject matter is a Charizard. Okay, so with all, I mean, it is a Charizard card without the Charizard name.
yeah, but all this hype for the Charizard, like, it was the one everyone was excited about for 2 years, and Bidoof came out of nowhere.
But it's been made after they developed a system to which allow them to get it to as many individuals as possible. Now you could have a situation like what you mentioned about hoarding cards. There could be an individual who chooses to do that with special delivery Charizard because you know what? Let's face it, there will be a lot of people doing this, right?
Yeah.
So it is possible that there could be some milk from the market, but it'll be kind of superficial because you'll know there's hordes of them somewhere. And but that would be like a decade from now, maybe. I think that the difference is minimal enough that the quantity difference will be too great for the special delivery Charizard to overcome.
So, my biggest thing against that is, like, I think I said this in text, quantity always diminishes, but Charizard is eternal. The
But this is
Charizard
special.
name will carry that card, and it might take 10 years. It could be two, but Charizard is Charizard, and he will overpower the Bidoof.
But special delivery Bidoof is a Charizard card.
But it
And
doesn't
let's be real, it
say Charizard
is a
though.
Charizard card.
One
I
thing it does have
collectors.
going for it is, like, it was kind of a unexpected thing. And yeah, I do think there is a lot more Charizards made than Bidoof.
It's gonna be a lot more, and that's something we can both agree on. I think.
It's a lot, but it's not like a lot, a lot. I don't know how much that is, but
Okay, I disagree. This thing was, I mean, this thing got that link got passed around like the village bicycle. Maybe like
I
that
never shared
thing.
my bicycle.
Well, that's why it was the village bicycle. But
But the
but
thing is, like, they were open for the same amount of time ish. But I don't know. I guess it's easiest for me to put it in percentages. I guess
you see, with me, I don't know what I was doing, but I don't remember that thing going live with the special delivery Bidoof. I completely like missed the ball on that one.
I
I
told you
think that,
about it, and then like a
but
couple days later, I told you about it again, and then you're like, "Yeah, I don't know," and then you missed it. That's what happened.
well, I was definitely during a time when I was really busy, but I think there's gonna be so much more made for the special delivery Charizard that I think you're gonna see it dip below $100.
Yeah, I think it will dip below
Eh,
100 for sure.
I think you could even see it dip below 50. Ooh,
Go!
bold, bold.
I don't know. It'll
Yeah, I
have a
mean,
hard time breaking 100, but it'll be there for sure. I
if
think.
you can already week three, you're already seeing them being sold for 139. Or I mean 129. You don't think by week 11 it's going to be below 100?
I don't know. So here's the thing, right? Like I said, with percentages, it seems like a lot of people signed up for Bidoof and not a lot of people got them. You do seem like you're seeing a lot more people get the Charizard, but you're also seeing a lot of people who are more engaged with the hobby. Like Bidoof didn't really circle around like wildfire until it was like done. Charizard, we've been waiting on this for 2 years, so like everybody who's active in the hobby like had their email in pretty much.
I even asked my girlfriend to get it because I mean that part is speculation, but I figured I could get two for $50 combined. It was my thought process on it. So,
Yeah. Well, I do think like to what I said though, it's like there's just naturally more exposure because it finally happened. So we are seeing more, even if the prints were the same, like you're just seeing more of it because it's just such a crazy story.
I mean, that's
But
definitely possible, but what if there is a ridiculous amount of people, more people, because a lot of people could have missed it, just like me with the special delivery Bidoof, because people weren't engaged at that, as you mentioned, weren't engaged in that direction of the hobby. They were busy looking at, I don't know, somebody opening packs.
yeah, and there is
And
a lot of
they
people who missed it. Like you see all the posts on Facebook, people are like, "Oh yeah, I missed it," or "Can you still get it?" And people are just like, "No." So there are still
but
lots of people who missed.
there's also a possibility though that they can bring this out for another printing because the demand could be high enough that they could also do it a special promotion for all we know for Christmas. I mean, is it really that far outside the possibility? Because
That's what
one,
I
Charizard
was.
makes the money.
That's what I was thinking too. It's like, yeah, I think no matter what, no matter how long it takes, I think the Charizard name and the story will outpace the Bidoof. But yeah, the balls on Pokemon's court. I mean, they could like, hey, here's another chance to get special delivery Charizard. You know?
Yeah, I think I we can both see that happening, right?
Yeah,
I think that's a very strong possibility, but I mean that's further down the line. But I just think that special delivery Bidoof will be higher than the special delivery Charizard for a long time. I'm talking over 10 years.
yeah.
It's a possibility, maybe in like 15 plus, maybe. I don't know. But
It's hard to say.
I, because I'm not betting against Charizard. You know, they say never bet against Charizard. Well, I'm not. Because
Just
with the
for the next
story
10
of,
years. So
but special delivery Bidoof is a Charizard card. I mean, let's be real. And it is, I mean, maybe that's how I see it, but like, I can't be the only one that sees it like that. And now it's a whole series with the special delivery Pikachu. And by the way, I think that one would probably be the least out of all three.
yeah, I think so too. Pikachu's always going to be
You can still get
under.
like a 9 for like $100, I think. Last I checked was like 125 for a PSA 9.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, ideally, you would think like they just shut down the Bidoof, and then whoever got a code got one. Like, let's say like 30% of the people got one. It seems like this time, at the rate we're going, like 80% plus are going to get the Charizard, or maybe they're shooting for like everyone. Maybe they only had enough pre-orders or codes for how many copies they made. So if you signed up and got in the window within 3 days, maybe you're guaranteed to get a code, and maybe they're just spacing them out because they want to make sure the website have enough stock to buy $20 worth of stuff. Because you have to buy $20 worth of stuff. Of course, like they can't have.
Some people are gonna buy more.
Yeah, they can't have thousands of people buy out their whole store, and then everyone else can't find $20 of stuff to buy. So maybe that's what they're doing. They just want to have stock available to buy.
I think that is a part of it, but I think you're looking at least 3 times more people, between 2 and 3 times, easy, more special delivery Charizard than the special delivery Bidoof.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. Like they don't want to run out of stock, and then people can't buy stuff, and then they also want to, they were more well prepared also. So yeah, very well. Everyone who signed up could get one, but then again, it was only open 3 days, so it is going to be a rare card.
I do wish that I got more people, been more persistent with friends and family about signing up, so I could have gotten like 6 of them for like $150. But I do think, like I said, it is going to fall below 100. I really do.
I originally thought like they were just going to have pre-orders open for a set time, and then everyone who signed up got one. But yeah, the way they worded it, it's like basically if you're lucky, you'll get a code. So they worded it like it wasn't going to be that, but you would think they would have it like that. But we'll let you know if we get codes, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, I'll let you know for sure. I'll be dancing in the street. But, I mean, I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some parts of me that does like Charizard, but I just wish there was another card I was getting excited for, is all.
Yeah. Well, we better close it out. Another long one. I don't even know what the runtime is now. 2 hours is becoming our thing. But anyway, guys, we'll let you know what the Special Delivery Chronicles come down to, and in episode 5000, we'll see you there, and we'll just catch you in the next one, I guess.
All right. Peace out. Can't wait for the next one.
So